Tonchikia. Before I begin, I would like to acknowledge that here in beautiful Adams County, we are standing on the ancestral homelands of the Cheyenne, Arapaho, Ute, and Sioux nations. Now you might be wondering, whose indigenous land am I on? And as the saying goes, there's an app for that. It's called Native Land, and you can check it out sometime and look up wherever you are in the world to see whose ancestral land you're on. And by honoring those who've come before us, we pay respect and honor those in the future. As Daphne shared, I'm enrolled in Turtle Mountain Band of Chippewa in Belcourt, North Dakota. While I'm one Native American woman, I represent 574 sovereign nations from around the United States. And I'm so proud to be here with my voice and my story. Now I want you to hold up your hand and stare at it for a moment and take a look at your thumbprint. There's absolutely no one else in this world exactly like you. You're not only 1 in a million, you're actually 1 in 7.8 billion. That's pretty amazing. And I want to encourage you to think about, what if someone forced you to be something that you are not? What if someone forced you to harm a loved one or even your child against your will? What would you do? What if there was no one there to help you? What if there was no one to save you? My great-grandmother Clara lived this exact scenario. She was a gentle, peaceful soul, a loving mother, a loving grandmother. One day, a U.S. federal marshal came galloping up the hill in the shack where she lived on the reservation, and he handed her a letter. Now, Clara did not speak, read, or write English, so she was really confused as to what was this letter even saying. But she did understand that she was meant to go to the church the next day, because she went to church every day, to learn more about what this letter meant. Now, when she got to the church, she met an interpreter, and that interpreter explained to her that she needed to sign this letter so that Mabel could go to an important school. That absolutely went against every fiber of her identity as a mother, because the last thing she wanted was for her girl to go away. But they told her, if you don't sign this letter, you'll be sent to jail. So what do? Because she could not read or write or speak in English, she used her thumbprint to sign the document for her daughter Mabel to be taken away. My grandma Mabel, she's a pistol. If you met Mabel Rose, she would tell you a joke, dance a jig, make you some fry bread, take you to car bingo, like she used to do with me many a time. She was so happy and such a beautiful spirit. At age 13, Mabel was taken away from the only home she had ever known. They picked her up in the back of a cattle truck with dozens of other Indian kids, wearing no shoes and only the clothes on her back, not knowing where she was going. But they were taking them to an Indian boarding school in South Dakota. Now, when Mabel arrived, she found out pretty quickly that this was not the kind of school maybe they had described. All of the Indian children were conformed into not speaking their native language and following very strict rules. In fact, my grandmother, who was such a rebel at her core, fought this, intuitively fought against what they were trying to do to her. And every time she was caught speaking her native tongue, they would shave her head as punishment or worse. Put her in isolation, remove her from the other kids in the school, and let her know that she was to follow the rules. She lasted maybe about 3 years, and at the age of 16, she decided with her best friend that she was going to escape. They plotted an escape plan. They made friends with the cook at the school. They rolled up peanut butter balls, hid them in a pillowcase, had their gear ready to go, and plotted their escape. During a mass, they took out the front door and never looked back. And Mabel used her thumbprint to hitchhike 500 miles back home to the reservation. She was very brave. My mother, June, she has the spirit of a butterfly. She loves to sing, cook, tell stories. Growing up, my mother spent all her days with Clara, and she was very loved and was always encouraged to be exactly who she was. When she was 18 years old, she moved off the Indian reservation to go to beauty school because she was taught at the time that she wasn't smart to go to college, but perhaps vocational education was an option. So Mom went on to beauty school in Grand Forks, which is about 3.5 hours from the reservation. But in her words, she became the best damn hairdresser in Grand Forks, with 60 standing clients, using her thumbprint and her hands every day to make people feel good about themselves. Fast forward, she decided after years of putting my dad through school that she was ready to go to college, ready to prove it to herself that she could do it. And she excelled. She received a 4.0, got her undergraduate and master's degree at University of North Dakota, and went on to help many Native American students acclimate to college life off the reservation and to help them believe in themselves and to stay true to who they were. My mother was also adept at telling stories every time my friends would come over. So on my 18th birthday, we're sitting around the kitchen table with a Dairy Queen ice cream cake. And she handed me an envelope, and all my friends were like, "Oh, what's this?" And she said, "I need to tell you guys a story. What I'm about to give Susie is something that my great-grandma Clara waited her entire life to receive." And it was this, a treaty check from the US federal government, from a treaty that had been signed in 1892 when they purchased our land for 10 cents an acre, moving us westward in a spot of land that was 6 times smaller than what we had originally been allotted from the first treaty, by the way, that had been broken. This is a check that represented lies and deceit and unbroken promises, and it was not lost on me that my great-grandmother had lived and died waiting for this check and never received it. Because my mother went on to share that when she was a little girl, her grandma would tell her, "You know, Junie, when I get my treaty check, I'm going to get running water." You can see the pail here. That was the pail that they used to walk to the well each and every day. That's where my mother got so many stories of life with her grandmother that stayed with her always, and she shared with all of us. Today, there are many opportunities to be who you are, but yet we're constantly faced with reasons to conform, reasons to code switch, and to not really be who we are in any given situation. And I really want to encourage all of you to be like Clara, be like Mabel, and to be like June. Be true to who you are, despite whatever circumstance you're dealing with. Authenticity is not a destination. Authenticity is a way of being content in who you are, loving who you are, standing up for what is right, standing up for what you believe in, and never giving up. Never allowing any circumstance or anyone try to change who you are. Take a look at your hand. Remember, there's only one you in the world. Always be true to yourself. Love your thumbprint. Put your hand on your heart and remember that being you is the only way to be. Thank you.